Hey, good morning, guys. Okay, welcome back. Another happy morning of our adulting conference here. Today is Mardi Gras, so that's why we have our crazy mask on and our beads and all that good stuff. But this is Jackson Culver, and he goes to UK, and he's a freshman this year at UK. So this is his first year, and you all have shown up today to listen to him speak. Now, remember, we're going to talk about our expectations real quick at BVLA. Make sure you have your cameras on. Okay, everything is free of distractions. You're paying attention and making eye contact, even though it's through the computer, through Zoom, at the speaker. And if you have questions for him, just you can put it in the chat, or you can unmute your microphone and just ask them out loud. That's great too.
And don't forget to cameras on and be engaged, guys. We're also, as you go through, when you're engaged, asking questions, keeping your cameras on, you may find that you have some points in your PBIS account. So stay active. We're excited to have him with us. And there is a lot of information that you can get from him today. So thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, of course.
All right, you're up, Jackson.
Where should I start?
I don't know. Did you make your bed?
No.
Okay, so number one. You can start. I don't know. Why did you pick UK to go to?
Yeah, so I guess when I was going through the processes of trying to find a good college that I liked, you really need to know what major you want to do, or like kind of what field you want to go into. And all I did is just like look up colleges and compared how their programs compared based on like what major I wanted. And in Kentucky, I guess like the top two colleges were Louisville and UK for mechanical engineering, which is my major. And once you have those, they're pretty comparable. So you have to think about just like the culture at the college or what the campus is like. And also the city too is important. And I just know like Lexington is a lot safer than Louisville, and like UK's campus was bigger. So that was just more of the environment I was going for. For someone else looking into colleges that they would want, I would definitely recommend taking tours. UK was the only college that I really toured when I was looking for colleges to go to. But I would say you should probably look at like 3 or more. I definitely wish I looked around more before I decided. I love UK, but there definitely could have been other colleges out there. And I wish I would have been more prepared and looked at more colleges before I just decided on UK.
That's a good one, Jax.
That is some excellent advice.
So, what is life like? Like, what's the difference?
So it really varies depending on who you talk to. My schedule is pretty booked, but you don't have to live like that in college. Most people find that you have a lot of extra time. So in high school, it's pretty much you're sitting in class from, I don't know, 8 a.m. to 2 or 3 in the afternoon. But in college, it's not like that. You maybe have class from 2 or 3 hours out of the day, and then the rest is just for like homework, or you can do whatever you want. So it's a lot of like staying on top of your work because it's really easy to get distracted. And you have so much freedom. You really need to make sure you're doing something productive with your time, whether that's just like staying active or being involved in clubs. Some people do like internships or having a job on the side. It's great to get any kind of experience like that in college.
What kind of?
And yeah.
Sorry, Jax. Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh no, you're fine.
Okay, so that's what I was going to stop and ask is what kind of tips do you have to keep people on schedule? I know you mentioned like being active, like actively involved with clubs or whatever, but what helps you get to the right place at the right time?
Yeah, of course. So for me, it's really just like trying to keep track of everything you have to do. And what's helpful there is like I'll put sticky notes up on my desk for like events coming up or assignments that I have to do and like mark them off as I go through them. Uh, what's also good is having someone else who has like a similar schedule as you. So you can be like, oh, how are you doing on the calculus assignment? And things like that. So they can like, you can keep each other accountable. And it's really just like time management, like don't waste any time you have. Make sure you're doing something productive. And then like at the end of the day, when you have all your things done, that's when you can relax.
Do you know people in class or students that are not good with their time, like on campus, and that they are like they've already had a dropout or, you know?
I definitely know a few kids who maybe like, so engineering is typically a pretty difficult major. And I know some people who just like couldn't keep up with their work or they had trouble. So they had to like change to an easier major. I've also seen people struggle with grades and just not being able to hang out or something like that, just because they had like kept all their work to the last minute. And so it's like 10 p.m. on a Friday, and they have 3 assignments to do that are due in 2 hours. And like, that's really when your grade is probably going to start hurting.
It sounds like some students at BVLA with edgenuity targets.
Oh, yes.
So that's an important lesson to learn about how to keep yourself on schedule, keeping track of time and assignments, and getting ahead of it instead of trying to recover it from behind. So that's it's a very responsible way to manage your college schedule, but that also speaks to work ethic. You've already established a really strong work ethic, and you know, you're planning that out up front to keep yourself on track. And that way, you know that you're in charge of your work and you're in charge of your grades instead of letting it just creep up on you and get behind. So excellent tips.
Okay, so what do you do in your spare time?
Yeah, so in my spare time, it's really good to stay active. Have something that gets you physically active. For me, that's either like going to the gym that they have on campus or going for a walk at the Arboretum that's not too far from here. Other people, though, they get involved in like club sports. There are tons of club sports on campus and at any college, like ultimate frisbee, soccer, basketball, really anything you can think of. Uh, Another thing to do with your spare time is like make connections with other college students. Networking is really important in life after college, and that starts like through all 4 years of your college career. So just like grab coffee with a friend or uh, just like hang out with people and get to know them better. And then also, I would say clubs are a great way to fulfill time, especially when you're looking for maybe an internship during college or even after college. Having a club that's kind of applies to your major and shows like, hey, I might not have that much experience, but here's what I did in college. Here's something that I have to show that I have leadership skills, or maybe you learned a language through a club or something like that. That's a great way to fulfill your time.
That's a really good. You think maybe a good idea would be, do you track those things? Because I know it's easy to forget. Like, do you write them down somewhere? Oh, I did this.
Yeah, especially when you're like, for me, like the career fair is really big on campus. When I was preparing for the career fair, uh, you want to print out, I don't know, 5 or 10 resumes. And going through your resumes, that's a great way to fill up your resumes. Having these different clubs on campus, and they don't all have to be like within your major. Just showing you're a well-rounded student is something employers really like.
That's a really good tip, Jackson.
I love the fact too that you're already keeping your resume. You're working on your resume, keeping it as a work in progress and adding to it as you go along. That's excellent advice for you guys as students do, to go ahead and start that now and then keep it updated as you go through your high school and your college career.
Yeah, definitely. I would say you want to update your resume like every semester at least, like every time you have a new class that you can put on there, or maybe you joined a new club or you did something new in a club that you can write on there and talk about. That's always a great thing to keep updating your resume.
Love that.
Now you all, Jackson's not an older student. How old are you?
I'm 18.
Yeah, and he just turned 18 in August. And I mean, he should be a senior right now in high school. Okay, so he's your age. He's not like, 20 or whatever, he's not an older student. I just want you all to keep I mean, he's the same age that you all are. So just kind of keep that in mind. What about the first time student orientation?
Yeah, so when you first entered college, so when you transitioned from being a high school student to being a college student, what can you describe for them? Because they're going to be, some of our seniors in particular are going to be doing that this summer. So what was that like? Was there orientation? What was it like when you first went to campus? Can you describe some of that process of transitioning from being a high school graduate into being a first-time student? And just go back to last summer?
Yeah. So obviously there's a lot of like preparation before you get into college. But I guess that's just like getting things for your dorm and getting supplies ready. That's not too important. But coming on to campus actually, you usually move in like a few days before classes. I moved in a week before classes, and they had all these activities planned where you get to know students. But when it like really starts is the first day of classes. Uh, and it was really daunting at first. Getting through that first day of classes, like, oh my gosh, I'm a college student now. How am I gonna do this? Because there's not like a defined path. You're off on your own. You don't really have like parents anymore. And you probably don't know too many people around you yet because you're just now starting college. Uh, and it's really just about like going through the motions and getting through that first day and just say, okay, well, no matter what happens, like I'm just gonna do the best I can, and I'm just gonna get through this day, take notes, try to like meet people in my classes, just get adjusted to this new schedule. And it's really just about going through it for the first time until you actually start like knowing what you're doing.
Well, I love that. And wait, one more thing before we ask them about questions too. Describe for them what it's like to move away from home and into a dorm. So what is dorm life like?
Oh yeah, it's really different. It's weird, like being on your own and having to, I just things you don't think about, like sweeping the floor or doing, like having to keep up with your laundry. And uh, there's so much like you have so much free time and so much little supervision. So it can be really bad if you don't like stay focused on your work and you don't know what you're doing. So I would say like it's definitely fun and exciting to be on your own, but just be careful not to get lost in that excitement and stay like focused on while you're in college.
Such wise advice. I love to hear that. Can you take some questions?
Yeah, we're gonna take some questions, and while you all type your questions in the chat, or you can unmute yourself.
Take advantage of this opportunity. It is great to have a young college student here who's going through this right now, who's willing to share some of his experience with us. So take advantage of this opportunity and ask some questions. You've been wonderful too, by the way.
I'll start. Hey, Jackson, what do you do to, like, what's the stress level like at college? Where does the stress come from, and what do you do to manage the stress?
Yeah, that's a great question. So college can definitely be stressful at times. Like there will be some weeks where it's like, I have all this extra time, what do I do with it? And then the next week you'll have like exams or something like that. And maybe like 10, 15 assignments you have to do by Friday. So it can get really stressful all at once. And to deal with that, it's really good. So like, don't get lost in relaxing too much. But when you've spent like an hour, 2 hours studying and on homework, it's good just to decompress. Go get active, like I said, like go to the gym or go on walks, or just grab a coffee with friends, or even just make sure you're getting the meals you need and like go have dinner. And I found like that's really helpful for stress. It's just make sure you have that like relaxing time so you don't get too lost in work.
Okay, we have a question. What is the point of like joining clubs in college? Not like what's the point, but what do you really get out of it?
Yeah, for me, a lot of it is just about networking, like getting to know new people who can maybe help you in your future. Uh, they're always great, depending on how involved you want to be. You can get great experience. For example, so I'm mechanical engineering, right? I joined this club called Engineers Without Borders. And in this club, you work on local and like international actual engineering projects. Right now in that club, we're working on a pipeline that we're designing for a town in Guatemala so they can have running water in like each house there. So you can get a lot out of clubs if you find the right clubs. And then some of them might have like less involvement, so you probably get less out of them. Another club I'm in is, it's just like the UK Energy Club. And it's like once a month, we just meet, and there's someone, like there's always a new person from the energy industry who comes to talk. And that club really just like keeps me up to date with what's going on in energy right now. For example, we had a nuclear engineer come and talk about living on a nuclear submarine and how the nuclear submarines work. So it's just about like gaining knowledge, meeting people, and then getting some experience in your future career.
Okay, we have another question. How can you eliminate choices of subjects that you don't want to major in?
Yeah, so that can be difficult at times. The advice I would give is when you first come to college, usually your first semester or two are probably going to be mostly like elective classes, like a classes you can kind of pick from whatever subject you want and just like take classes. I don't know, maybe like in chemistry or forestry, or there are all kinds of options. So I would say is your first couple semesters at college, try to take a variety of classes and see what you like and what you don't like. And you can kind of gauge where you are off of that.
Can we see your dorm room now? I'm sure they want to see your messy room here.
Yeah, you can see my dorm room. Here are my sticky notes.
Oh, nice.
That's my desk where I do my homework. My bed's kind of messy. And this is it. I guess I can show you around too. This is not all dorm rooms are like this, but that's my roommate's room. And then the counter and the mirror, and there's the bathroom. It's pretty nice.
It is really nice. Very nice.
We have another question. Are you ready? Are there certain classes in certain colleges that are required?
Yeah, of course. So depending on what your major, you're gonna have certain classes required. Like for example, in the engineering college at UK, you have to take, it's like engineering 101, 102, and 103, which are just like basic engineering courses. You're gonna have required classes like that, I think, anywhere. Yeah.
And you have a comment that says, nice setup on your room.
Thanks. I try.
Yeah. Okay, Jax. Anybody else have any questions for him? We're gonna have to let him go.
Okay, Mally has one. Too.
Oh, okay. Here's a good one. Can you change your major if you don't like it?
Yeah, of course. You can always change your major. I've heard stories of people going through like 2 years of college and then being like, okay, this is not what I want to do. Like sometimes it takes a while for you to get into those higher level classes, into the real work, like to deal with what your major actually is. And you can always like easily change your major. They have plenty of resources here at UK, at least on campus, for major exploration, or just like talk to your regular advisor. And they're always really good with working with students. I know multiple people who have probably like changed their major 3 or 4 times. And it might take a while like getting through college if you change your major like that, but it's definitely worth it if you end up finding something you really enjoy.
I think so.
What do you have for the rest of the day? You headed out to class?
Yeah.
Well, thanks for spending time with us. We
Thank
appreciate
you
it.
so much. You have been wonderful.
Thank you.
Please join us in thanking him for sharing with us. So yeah, you're getting lots of thanks and appreciation here over in the chat. But we can't thank you enough. You did such a great job. We really appreciate all that information.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah,
Well,
thanks for having me.
bye, Jax.
Bye.
Bye.
What's the code word?